Ba-na-ba, ba-na-na. I don't know why I do that. That's like ESPN.
What?
Ba-na-na, da-na-na.
Is that?
Ba-na-na, da-na-na.
I don't watch ESPN. Is that a sports network? I don't know anything about it. I don't watch sports. What do I know about
You watch Olympics?
The Olympics is a whole. That's
Exactly.
Its
It's
own
not
thing.
sports.
I'm not saying it's not sports. It's its own thing.
Not sports.
I don't think it's even on ESPN. It's on like NBC
Because it's not sports.
or something.
It's not sports.
KT.
It's not sports.
It's extreme sports.
It's not sports.
It's sports.
You're listening to Articulate with your hosts, Kevin Kramer and Sean Gillespie, your go-to guys for art tips, techniques, and general artist ramblings. Presented by drawingandcoloring.com.
Hey everybody, welcome to Articulate, the show where we talk about everything art. I'm Kevin Kramer.
Sean Gillespie.
He's Sean Gillespie.
I'm Sean Gillespie. I don't know why I pointed over there, because he's right here, which is me.
Right there. And today's show is about
Teaching art,
teaching art.
which is what we attempt to do
Right here.
every week.
This is what we're doing.
Sort of.
We're teaching.
Well, we are teaching, but we're also talking.
We're discussing.
And we're drinking tea.
We're discussing.
We're doing 3 things at once.
You know, the best way to
We're
learn
having art discussion.
The best way to learn is through story.
Through story. What are we talking about? Like the scorpion and the frog here?
Yeah. Maybe not.
And he's like, I can't help it. I'm a scorpion.
The best way to learn techniques, not necessarily through story.
A good way to learn an art technique is to teach it. Because when you have to teach it,
yeah.
you have to put it into words. And it's
Exactly.
one of those things that I think both of us have found pretty quickly is not easy to do all the time.
It's not so easy to articulate exactly what you're trying to say.
Sometimes it's difficult to articulate on articulate. Because you basically have to put into words what you do naturally and what you do without thinking. Because
Right.
at that point, you know, somebody else has put it into words for you.
Exactly.
You've been doing it so long, and now you're like, oh.
You just
you know.
glaze over things that you assume people already know.
But what happens is they give you a new perspective. So, for example, Luciano has been taking violin lessons.
Oh, really?
I do, yeah.
Wow.
You
Did
may
not know that.
You didn't know that about
I
me?
did not know
All
that.
right. Well, it's been going on for a few months now.
Did not know that.
It sounds like a cat is dying in the room. And what happens is because I'm a grown man.
Right.
I don't know if you know that, but I'm a grown-ass man. But anyway, so I'm a grown man.
Hold your britches.
Hold your britches. I'm a grown man. You don't know me. I'll fight you. No, but I'm a grown man. And when I go there, I sit in a room with a bunch of little kids.
Like 13-year-olds?
Younger.
8?
Like 4-year-olds.
4.
Not some of them.
4-year-olds
There's like
are doing...
some of them
Devil
are
Went
like
Down to
4
Georgia.
all the way up to 12 and 13, and they're all freaking amazing at this. Their
Prodigies.
brains are malleable at that age, and they can play these instruments like the devil went down to Georgia.
Right.
You know, like old little what's his name, Johnny, whatever. Anyway, so
I just play Batman.
right, but they're all amazing. But what happens is like when I leave, there's always like this mom who's like looking for this kid to tell me, you did such a good job. So she sees me and then she starts looking for my kid, and then she realizes, and you can watch the moment when she's like, oh, there's no kid. That was you in there making that noise. And then it's no longer like okay in their mind, which is crazy. Because if I was a kid, they'd be like, that was great, good job. But because I'm a grown-ass man, they're like, that was terrible. And you should already know how to do this, but I never learned. I'm just learning right now.
And then you just walk out Charlie
Right.
Brown style.
I do, and I go, doo-doo-doo-doo. But one of the things that I've learned is that violin is, in any musical instrument, is a very mathematical process. And I am...
Really?
It is, because it's all
Counting,
about
maybe?
timing and rhythm.
Yeah, okay.
And, you know, and I am not a very mathematically minded person. And so it's very challenging for me. And so I'm having to constantly articulate...
Oh,
Name of
word
the
of the
podcast.
day.
Oh.
Word of the day.
things that like my teacher takes for granted. She's like, oh, well, you know, it's just a 4x4 measure. So it's 4 beats per measure.
Right.
And I'm like, well, why? That's arbitrary. Why not just put the 2 measures together and then it's 8x8 and then it's 8 beats per measure. And if I pick the next measure after that, then it's freaking 12 beats per measure. I'm like, where does it end? Why are you picking these random things? And she's like, well, it's not random. And this, I'm like, yes, it is. It's random. And then we fight. No, we don't fight. No, we get along great.
It actually goes up to like 64ths.
Right, it can go up forever.
It gets pretty ridiculous.
But I don't and so a lot of times I'll ask her something, and she's like, "Well,
Because.
I never thought about that."
Right.
Because I'm seeing it for the first time.
And she's teaching
she
4-year-olds
is
that don't
teaching-
question authority.
She's teaching 4-year-olds who just get it. And I'm a grown man who's like, well, if this is a fraction and it's a 1/8 of a note, it's a quarter note, then it's a quarter of the length, and I'm like trying to mathematically figure out quarter lengths, and I'm like, well, then you carry the 1, and she's like, dude, you just play the damn song.
Exactly.
And I'm like,
You're
yeah,
overthinking it.
I'm overthinking it.
You just go 1, 2, 3, 4, or how my teacher taught me, 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
Oh, that's good.
Or 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4.
1 and a 2 and a
Yeah.
3 and a 4. 1 and a 2
I had a damn good
Yeah.
band teacher in middle school.
I need to work on that. I have problems with that. But the point is that a new student can teach the teacher by introducing and making them look at things in a new and fresh way.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that was my point.
Is that where you're going?
That 15 minutes,
roundabout rant.
that 15 minute story was all about that point that I made before I told the story, and then I reiterated with my long story.
You articulated it very poorly.
Hey, folks.
But that's the thing, is you can be super concise, like it's a 4/4 measure, this, and this, then people don't get that. They're like, well, what the hell does that mean?
Right. Well, we're not doing a podcast on violin here, Kevin.
Right, but I know. The same thing. Teaching.
Right.
It's like,
No, it is.
you're glazing over things that I don't have a background for.
Right.
And that's something you need to take into account when you're teaching people.
Right. You have to put yourself in their shoes. You don't want to. One thing that goes. So you get a new client or a new student. Client. So he was talking about clients. When you get a new student, I have been asked to teach before, but only adults. I've never had a student that's kind. And I feel like there's a little bit of sexism in the industry. I don't know. Maybe am I crazy? Because I mean, if your studio is in your house, as mine is,
Only men want to teach.
well,
learn?
no, then you're not very likely that somebody's going to bring their kid off and drop him off with a strange man at his house. I mean, that's just. I mean,
That happened to me with a lady.
well, yeah, that used to happen to me with a lady too.
Right.
My parents would just drop me off with this old lady,
Like, I had no
and I
idea
would
who
sit
this
there
was.
and draw in her house, and she
Right.
would teach me art, and that's I mean, she was awesome.
I didn't know who that was.
Yeah, but she was my art teacher.
I went once and I was freaked out, so I left.
Really?
I went back.
Oh, I did. I went back for years.
Don't drop your kids off with strangers, I think is the question.
Well,
is the thing
my
there.
point is that there has to be this established rapport and this trust,
Right.
Which I feel like is hard. I feel like you, if you're a male and you're trying to teach, you probably need a separate studio or a studio that's large enough to have 2 desks and allow the parents to engage as well. I just feel like there's a lot of creep. I'll just fucking say it. There's a lot of damn pedophiles out there, and they're making it hard for honest non-pedophiles to teach children. All right, I said it. You damn pedophiles are screwing it up.
Or you could teach online and
Or
go
you-
all around
let's
that.
talk about that. Let's talk about that.
Don't have to worry about bringing people into your house.
Pedophiles are screwing it up. All right, now let's talk about that.
There's online teaching, which is less intrusive,
Okay,
And-
online teaching.
pedophilish.
Well, they exist.
They do.
They do.
But-
you know, this
it's
podcast is not about pedophiles.
neither here nor there.
But I'm just saying that I feel like if pedophiles did not exist, and
you
that
could teach anyone you wanted.
I could teach anybody I want, and everybody would be like not even worried. But it wouldn't even be a thought.
Right.
It's sad that it is a thought. That's all I'm saying.
Okay.
I'm trying to make that point because I feel like it would be difficult for me to teach out of my home because I feel like people would. Be like, I don't know about that guy. And then I'm like,
Right.
no, dude, I'm not weird. I swear, I'm not a pedophile. And as soon as you say I'm not a pedophile, you instantly sound like a pedophile.
He's a pedophile.
Yeah, you're like that dude who just said he was not a pedophile?
Totally.
Totally a pedophile.
Totally.
Right.
But if you're doing it online, which I have a course, you can go. It's on Udemy. They have
Right.
other sites.
Udemy. Yeah, I've heard you mention Udemy, and that's where you upload little instructional videos and people can buy them. Mm-hmm. Okay.
You
Now
can
they pay
create
for
an
the
entire
site
course.
itself, or they just pay for your course?
You can buy specific courses through them. So
Okay.
and you can actually teach a course if you want.
Okay.
So anybody can teach a course. They have free, they have paid,
Okay.
they have promotions all the time.
Okay.
And I have my Shading Masters course up there. I actually have it on the website and I transferred it over there.
Okay.
And you just create all the outlines and upload the videos, upload the content, and they almost sell it for you.
Okay.
Like, they run promotions, and I ask you if you can be included in them, but I did a few initial promotions. I got some sales, but they are constantly promoting, and I have money coming in.
Nice.
So, if you know anything about art or a topic, I would definitely go over there and check it out. You can make some extra money.
Man, this guy's always trying to get you guys to do his job, man.
Trying to help people
Trying
out.
to help him out.
Trying to help sustain that low income
All right. Now, let's say
image of artists.
I want to be an artist, but I want to paint. I want a steady job, and I want health insurance.
What are you asking me?
I'm saying, you want to teach,
Right.
art. And I mean, that's what a lot of people do. That way they have, summers. Unfortunately, in this day and age, a lot of teachers end up teaching summer school, and they don't actually end up with the summers that they're promised, even though in everybody's minds they still get it. But, if you've dated a teacher for 7 years, you understand that they're really robbed of that time a lot of times. But in theory, you can become a teacher. To teach elementary school and middle school and high school, you would need a bachelor's degree and you would need a degree in education, right? And then you could teach art. To teach on a collegiate level, you would need a master's or higher. Now, with art, the highest you can go is an MFA. An MFA is a terminal degree, so there's no doctorate of art unless you go overseas to England. And then I think they have...
Really?
Yeah, I looked it up a while back because I wanted to get an MFA, but when you get a terminal degree, you're more limited.
Bad.
It does. It does sound bad. And
You're going to die.
Right. Well, it has a bad taste in a lot of the collegiate level's mouths. A lot of times, I only know that because I mentioned it to a professor who was a doctor, and I mentioned getting an MFA so that I could teach art, and she's like, "Ooh, a terminal degree," and I was like, "Oh." She made it sound so bad that just the way she said it has not left my mind.
Right.
But most people who teach art on a collegiate level do only have MFAs. The thing is, it's so competitive that people with MFAs from Yale and Harvard doesn't have an MFA program, but from Yale has an amazing MFA program. But those students are a lot of times grabbing there's so many,
right?
And that they're having to grab pretty much what they can. So they're ending up at, Texas State and, and things like that. So people who graduate from Texas State with an MFA might have a little bit more difficulty trying to distinguish themselves from there. But the way you distinguish yourselves on a collegiate level is by your portfolio, your output, things like that. So if you're right. So basically, the more work you put out, the more of an asset you are to the college that you're getting. So even if you don't say you can't afford Ivy League or you aren't accepted into Ivy League and you get your MFA in a state university, which is fine, that's great. But you're going to have to distinguish yourself in other ways if you want more job opportunities. And the way you would do that is be like, oh, well, I had a show here. We opened it up to the community. We did this. We had this activity. I've been published in this, and this. I mean, you have to establish your credibility elsewhere. Well, that way you show your value to the university.
You have to establish your credibility whether you're teaching anything.
Right. But my point, though, is if you go to Ivy League, then those four letters are going to be your credibility
those
right
are
there,
be
right
higher.
from the start. And then you're giving them an opportunity sooner, and then you can establish your credibility as you go. Whereas otherwise, you may have to establish your credibility, work community college for a while, part-time here. Several community colleges, it's become very common for professors to have to work several colleges because they're only offered part-times, and they have to divide themselves up. It's kind of sad.
It sounds like a mess.
Yeah, it is a mess.
I wouldn't any part of that.
The university system right now is a bit of a mess. I've been looking into it myself because I've been kind of thinking about getting an MFA and kind of researching.
If you just created a product and put it online,
well, I mean,
you could sell it indefinitely.
Well, that is a way to do it. I'm not saying that's not a way to do it.
But
I'm saying some people want more security and they want to have
a steady job
and a steady job and that's understandable.
Right. The creating a product and put it on that site and all of that it is a different world.
Well, it's
completely,
and it may sell, it may not sell. You may spend a week working on something and then nobody buys it. You know, maybe not. Maybe it will be popular, but
it's true. But
you also have to do so much to get those jobs to make a living off of it. You know what I mean?
Well, that's
what we're talking about.
That's where the constant comes in.
Right.
Is if if you have a program that everyone likes and you do have a degree, that helps bring it up too.
Well, establishing credibility is so important, especially in writing books on how to do something.
And I think it's important that if you can make the teaching fun, then if you have a degree, not necessarily the MFA or anything like that, but if you have a degree to teach art, you're fun, which automatically just distinguishes you from a lot of people that teach.
A lot of people are boring.
Art. Yeah, they just...
Boring! You're boring me, sir!
Snooze fest everywhere.
You're boring me with your boring chatter!
Exactly. So, if you can just be fun and intelligent about what you're teaching people about something they want, I think that is the trifecta.
Well, definitely.
And online's one way to do it. Working at a university, probably a little harder.
Well, it just takes more time. You gotta earn the degree.
Right. They both have their own pros and cons there, but
getting into the university is harder than you would think on a graduate level.
I think it would be pretty hard. I think it's hard I think it's harder than I think.
Thought that it would be easy. When I moved to Austin.
I think it's harder than I think.
Well, it turns out that a lot of MFA programs let in like 2 or 3 people a year. Like that's it. Like for film school at UT, they let in 2 people a year, and then their third person is whoever was on the waiting list last year. They had one person who was on a waiting list last year. So they let in 3 people a year. That's insane. It's crazy. And they have 250 applicants, 280 applicants from all over the world. I mean, and every one of them is like amazing, probably, except me. Every one of them but me was amazing. There might have been one guy who was worse than me, and he also did not get in because I don't.
That's crazy.
And what's funny is the first time you don't get in, you're like, that was a mistake.
Right.
I'm going to try it again next year.
There we go.
And they only let you apply once a year. Right? So you wait around 7 times.
7
times. Because I don't want to leave Austin, and I wanted to go.
That's rough. Well,
and you figure one day you're going to wear them down, but you don't.
No.
But you do need that degree to teach on a collegiate level. So maybe I go somewhere else. Maybe the Shauna is moving. Maybe I'll be phoning this in from another place.
Maybe so.
Maybe. You don't know. I don't know. I'm looking into it. We'll see.
We don't know.
We don't know.
All right, then.
We'll see.
Well, I guess we'll end it there.
I'm just saying, the Shauna's figuring it out with these guys.
Yeah. Well, I think that is a good place to end. How do you learn best, or how do you teach? Or would you want to even teach?
Well, I think a better question here is, I was arguing more for university, you were arguing more for online teaching. And I feel like a lot of teaching is going online.
It is.
So,
and video.
Where do you stand on that? Would you rather learn in a university? Like I've been trying to learn some graphic design stuff, try to brush up on my Illustrator through a book, and I'm just not getting anywhere because but if I was in a classroom and forced to learn it, I would definitely keep up with it and I would learn it quicker. So I'm thinking about taking a class just on that.
Well, I think that forces you to be in that environment.
Right.
That's why.
It forces you to do it. It helps you. And plus you're around other people. You can be like, hey, what do you think of this? There's a communication there.
That bouncing off ideas.
Right. So what are your thoughts? Would you rather learn in a university, or are you somebody who would teach yourself better?
Right. Brick and mortar, or in the comfort of your own home?
And the internet. Is the internet the university of the mind?
Is it the future?
You tell us.
Let us know in the comments below.
Subscribe to this.
Yeah. Hit that subscribe button. Let us know. Hop on over to articulatepodcast.com. Leave us a comment there. Like us, favorite. Do whatever you want to do over there.
Do what you want with us.
As long as it's legal.
Yep.
And we'll see you next week.
See you next week. Same bat channel.
You've been listening to Articulate with Kevin and Sean. Subscribe on iTunes or check them out on drawingandcoloring.com. Always reminding you to keep it simple.